Welcome to Musical Talk, the UK's independent musical theatre podcast. And we start today with a song from the 5-star Edinburgh show Jingle Street with the wonderful name Tree Hugger.
Help me reform.
Right!
I can be good.
Put your toe in your nostril.
I would if I could.
Whim!
Teach me your ways, I'll follow you round.
If I wanted a puppy,
Woof.
I'd go to the pound. I'm not running clinics for self-centered cynics who want to atone for their vices. My heart doesn't melt, so go find someone else to offload your midlife crisis.
I'm 28.
I know.
I want to be better. I know it sounds strange.
I know your type, and your type doesn't change.
I'll use paper straws if it's good for the cause. I'll only eat aubergine stew.
Ew.
So show me an oak and I'll give it a stroke. 'Cause I can be a tree hugger too.
We don't say tree hugger.
Ba-doo, ba-doo.
It's derogatory.
Ba-doo, ba-doo, we'll be two. I wanna be like you. I want the fire that inspires everything you do.
Whoopie-doo, monkey's missing a screw. Forget this weird duet, we'll get you back to the zoo.
I'm searching for purpose.
Oh, try out at the circus.
Ouch, you're colder than baked Alaska.
Ha, you want inspiration? I don't have the patience. I'm not your road to Damascus.
Oh, well, I'd love to ascend, but it seems like I'm stuck.
I'd love to descend, but you seem like a schmuck.
I'll rescue a snail, I can grow my own kale. I'm getting a Greenpeace tattoo.
Good for you.
So show me a cedar, I'm dying to meet her, 'cause I can be a tree hugger too. Ba-doo, ba-doo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Musical Talk. I'm Thos Ribbits, and I've been thinking that you could make lots of murderous musicals just by the simple addition of some L's. Fancy joining me to see Kill Me Kate? Or possibly hearing the song Hold My Hand, I'm a Strangler in Paradise. And if you think that's nonsense, remember that the road to L is paved with good intentions. Whew. Anyway, thanks so much for coming back to Musical Talk. If you heard last week's edition, you'll know what's in store. It's the second half of that wonderful conversation I had with those incredibly creative people at Chordstruck Theatre. Alex Adenall, Mimi Pattinson, Tom Hayes and Joe Venable. And they were the people who took 2 shows to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 2023, On Your Bike, which was a revival of a show which had won the Best Musical at the festival in 2021, and a brand new show called Jingle Street, which Musical Talk loved, and to which we gave 5 stars. And you've just heard one of the songs from the live recording of that show, made in Edinburgh. And there'll be more songs to come. But what are these shows about? Well, let's look at some of the blurbs. For On Your Bike, subtitled A New Musical About Love, Labour and Leftover Pizza, it's been described in the following way. Gemma rides for delivery app Eatsaroo until it cuts her pay and steals her crush. But how best to fight back? An exhilarating new musical about finding love and chicken in a gig economy world. And as for Jingle Street, here's the blurb for this. Big shot ad writer Colin wakes up to discover he can only speak in jingles. Desperate to lift the curse, he meets Green campaigner Jasmine, who seems to be the antidote. The only problem is, she finds him a revolting sellout. Can he change for the better and unjingle himself in the process? Mad Men meets Groundhog Day in this rib-tickling new musical from the award-winning creators of On Your Bike. So there we have it. That's the description of the 2 shows. And so in just a minute, you'll be hearing me talk to Alex Adenall, who was the choreographer and assistant director on them, as well as Mimi Pattinson, the director, Tom Hayes, one of the cast who was in both and played Colin in Jingle Street, and Joe Venable, the writer and producer of both shows. And a wonderful group of people they were, as I hope you've already realised if you were listening to last week's episode. So, in just a minute, you'll hear the second part of that conversation. But before we do, let's hear another song from the live recording of Jingle Street. And this song is called Pinky Swear. And if you want a description of what you're getting, here it is. In the midst of Colin's woes, his boss is in trouble. He made a pact at school to marry a girl if they were both still single at 30. And worse, they pinky swore. The impending deadline leaves Colin's boss frantically trying to marry anybody else, whilst asking big questions about the value of his pinky finger. This is Pinky Swear.
We did a pinky swear. Yes, a pinky swear.
You didn't.
The bindingest of promises the two of us share. A pinky swear. Oh, a pinky swear. My pinky would be axed, and that's too awful to bear. I really wish I'd been more cautious, 'cause I'm feeling slightly nauseous. There's shivers all over my spine, 'cause my pinky's on the line.
You know, this really reminds me of a time when I was about to...
We're doing my thing right now, not yours, so we can settle down.
That's looking grim for you.
I'm driven from my senses. Before today, I never knew my actions would have consequences. Should I be 10-fingered and miserable, or 9-fingered and free? How happy and how fingered should a person wish to be? A foolish pinky swear, a pinky swear, a marital mauling I can't repair. We pinky swore, and now I face life lugging whales off the shore. My wedding ring would clunk around when I want to swing my trunk around. But it's looking hard to decline with my pinky on the line.
There is, of course, one solution.
A solution? Go on, tell me.
You have to marry her if you're single at 30. Those are the terms that you wrote.
Yes, I know the terms, go on.
But if you go down, hit the town, find a lady who's ever so flirty, a romantic flirt.
I marry her, and then Sybil gets back on her boat.
You just need someone as desperate as you.
Oh, Parsley, you're a genius, inspired. Send out scouts, I'll find a spouse. 0 whales required, then no more pinky swear, no pinky swear.
You should go on Tinder, there's women there.
A pinky swear, a pinky swear. A bride with no whales, you've answered my prayer. I'll defuse this pinky bomb. Find a wife on lastminute.com and you'll catch me up there on cloud 9 with my pinky off the line. But I'm da 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 da.
Yeah.
With my pinky off the line.
Now, may we spend a bit of time talking about the interrelationships of the 4 central characters, if that's agreeable? Now, I think we ought to start with Colin, because you are the dynamic character, and to use the old-fashioned phrase, the link-up you have is with the prospective Green MP. So Colin and Jasmine are, if you like, the central character. There are 2 other characters who, I have to say, in the tradition of musical theatre, are the comedy second couple, if you like. We have the ingenue and the soubrette. It doesn't fit quite right, but I want to talk about the main couple, but I briefly want to talk about the secondary couple, because there are some cracking performances across the board. But of course, their responsibility is to be slightly heightened, I would argue, and by slightly I mean enormously so in performance. But actually, this is contrasts. The other couple, one of whom is Colin's boss, And that performer is astounding and presumably likes a delicious slice of scenery to chew on whenever they get. And this isn't meant rudely. I thought that the pitch of his performance was exactly right for that character, who's a nonsensical man, to be honest. Let's be honest. He obviously doesn't even know how to run his own company. I mean, it seems to be. It starts off with it's teetering on the verge of bankruptcy, whilst at the same time kicking out some of the best jingles, courtesy of the Colin character. But also the other member of the Green Party. Parsley, brilliant name anyway. Even just that lovely moment when she wants to eat, she wants to select a steak. It's actually a little throwaway, and there's speech marks, no reason why she shouldn't per se, and yet, it tells you everything you need to know about how that character is connected into the world that she's found herself in without really being part of it. So those are fabulous performances, but they're big. Oh, they're big. Beautiful and big.
We had a lot of interesting kind of lines between, because I write very absurd stuff, I'll make it bigger and bigger, almost to the expense of character at times, and Mimi's actually very good at reining me in.
Although you can have a license to do that if you've established it. There are moments where you can allow yourself a pocket, but that's an argument for you two.
When you build a world that is big, hopefully you get away with certain things, but making sure that we have that kind of heart and that sincerity as well as...
I believe them. Yes. I mean, that's the interesting thing. They're caricatures. Well, they're not caricatures. They're not gargoyles. No. Are they caricatures? Let me ask you. Are they caricatures?
Well, I don't know. It's difficult. I mean, I think yes and no. I think they draw on the tradition of caricature in the kind of mode or form of performance. But as Joe says, one of the things... I mean, those characters... Joe had those characters from the beginning, but I think what we didn't have at the very beginning was a sense of their emotional arcs. Where do they start and where do they finish? And because
that's still important for these kind of characters, isn't it? They can't just be, I'm a joke, here I am again.
Definitely. Like, I think, Holofernes is... The reason Holofernes is funny is because...
That's the manager.
Yes, the manager, because the boss, because he has so much power, this is such a recognisable character, he has so much power, and he's also a big baby. Yeah. Like, one of my favourite moments is in Walking, where he tries to get Colin to stop leaving the office, and Colin can't think, how do I get out of this? And goes, balloons, 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 and he goes, oh, where? And it's like, this guy... God.
Well, I was merely going to say, but also one of his big songs, which is about the pink... Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean anything once you're not 7. But the very fact he's carried that up to his 30th birthday as a kind of legally binding contract is a beautiful sign of his sort of...
Exactly, this kind of naivety, and which on the one hand I think, again, is really endearing, and it sort of speaks to your playful humour, but on the other hand, there is a kind of darkness to that as well, because we've, look at our politicians or whatever, these people who have a lot of power but are big babies, and that's, I think, the beauty of this show, is that it always seems to tread this line between being very fun and all these characters are very lovable, but then there's also this slightly kind of dark, just little edge of like...
There's the parallel if you want it.
Yeah, it is there. And it's really good. But I think the arcs of getting that Holofernes' loneliness, and that's then what Parsley kind of can offer him, is this sense of community, and that he can offer her some sense of, actually, no, you are capable, you're not just this stupid girl, is really nice.
Well, she sort of does that magnificent thing at the end, doesn't she? Without breaking any of the plot points, she does something which is really remarkable at the end.
Yes.
And you just think, oh. However, I still think for Darwinian reasons, you don't want them to have children.
Well, no. Yeah, we were very, very strong on the fact that we didn't want 2 plots which were like a heteronormative kind of marriage, monogamy plot. And that was really important to us, that second plot was, one had a queer character, but also was about friendship as an alternate ending to a musical, and platonic love as being just as important as romantic love, which you don't often see in musical theatre.
And is entirely refreshing. Absolutely. I very, very delighted to see that, and fabulous. But also, I should just say that all 4 of the actors are also in On Your Bike, and there they play much more sensitive characters. So we should say that this is an acting performance. It isn't, but they are accidentally insane people. Well, there may be.
That's the lovely thing about this, is that so Holofernes, who's played by Xander Pang, like the fact that he gets to do this great big performance, and then he gets to be Aidan in On Your Bike, which is a very classic kind of every man leading man. Same for Emily Huxter, who plays Parsley. She gets to do this kind of very stylized, silly I didn't want to call the character stupid, but bless her, she is
innocent.
not the brightest button in the box. Let's put it that way. And it's flamboyant. It's very camp, and then she gets to play again the kind of every woman and the leading lady in On Your Bike.
And a lot of very subtle but painful emotions, actually. Yeah, there's a lot of sadness and, physical damage as well in On Your Bike. You know, she gets knocked off her bicycle, doesn't she? Ends up in a sling. But if I may come back to you, Tom, obviously you've got these two big characters. And indeed, there's a self-assuredness to Jasmine.
Yeah.
So that's quite a strong character. Your character knows himself or thinks he knows himself.
Well,
crucially. Yes,
yeah.
No, you tell me.
I think, we had some kind of character chats at the beginning of the process.
Carry chats.
Carry chats. And kind of trying to figure out who these people were. And I think Colin, crucially, doesn't quite know himself and hasn't quite found that purpose in his life yet. And has kind of built up these almost impenetrable walls that mean that expressing himself or really being able to kind of reflect on himself is completely impossible. And I think that the jingle syndrome, which is this kind of central kind of driving thing, kind of can be seen almost as this kind of build-up of stress and the inability to express himself, which then means that he can then only express himself in these corporate jingles that really mean nothing. And
he's repressed himself into his own into psychological problem.
Yeah, as if he's almost become one of these kind of characters in a jingle rather than his own person. And then Jasmine, and this cynicism builds up, this kind of vicious cycle, and then he meets somebody who almost he feels like he can spar with words, and then...
With which he is good, of course. You know, we shouldn't forget he is actually creative. It's an odd thing, isn't he? He is a creative man.
That he is a musician, and there's this kind of running thing about him pretending to be in a band, but he could be in a band, and we imagined this world where he went to university with Holofernes and they were in a band, and then they sold out, but there is this underlying creativity and purpose that just needs to be kind of, he needs to remind himself that is actually what he loves. It's not this sellout kind of lifestyle. But it's this realization that actually he needs to kind of smash down these walls and take off these masks. And there is this kind of slight motif of masks throughout. You know, he starts.
Well, there's an actual mask.
There's an actual mask, but it's realizing that these are much more deep-seated kind of walls to break down.
You could, if you wanted to pretend to be Ponzi, and I know everyone does, use mask MASQUES as well, as in, there's performance masks going on here in the Jacobean sense. Listen to me.
Yeah. Excellent. And I also think
it's all in the writing.
Just on the point of Colin's kind of arc and changing it, for me that is one of the links between On Your Bike and Jingle Street, is your celebration of sort of authenticity, I think, and sincerity and passion, but sincerity and passion that isn't so earnest that it's reverent and so serious and kind
of... It's enthusiasm, isn't it?
It's kind of trying to have a sort of reverent irreverence, or a sort of passionate, very kind of, passionate way, thrust for change, I guess, and I think that's what Jasmine teaches Colin, played by lovely Maddie Smith, who just exudes that energy as an actor anyway. So that is, watching that chemistry on stage is really gorgeous for me as well. Yeah,
it's so fun to play.
Really
she's also the still point in a strange way. She's the steady one, if you like, the one who starts with the same principles essentially that she ends with. That doesn't mean she doesn't have a journey, she certainly does, but the other characters revolve around her to a greater or lesser degree, so she's the quiet dynamic.
Well, we've thought a lot about, because by traditional musical theatre law...
L-O-R-E or L-A-W?
Oh, goodness me, I think L-A-W. Jasmine should...
Statute.
I don't know who's written these. Jasmine should be naive at the beginning, Colin should be cynical at the beginning, he should learn to be more open, and she should learn to be a bit more practical and pragmatic.
It doesn't have to do that, does it? No.
We felt that it's nice to keep Jasmine actually as someone who keeps her integrity and keeps her wide-eyedness. And I think it works. She does certainly go on a journey, but we tried not to fall into that of saying, well, actually, the optimist needs to learn to be a little bit more world-wise.
Yeah.
I suppose what she learns is to believe that people are capable of change.
Redeemable.
So she's got this very, I mean, like you said, yeah, she's the kind of the revolving point, but she is, because she has this very strong worldview, which massively counters Colin's own worldview, but is actually, she's never going to compromise it. And that's actually, I think that's one of the beautiful ballad that the two of them do. It's essentially, that's the conclusion that she comes to, is like, I'm never going to learn, and I will always keep on trying, and like have faith in trying to put good out into the world. And that's and I think there's such an admirable thing in that, which is actually contravening musical theatre law to actually have something someone so resolute on actually these very, very respectable principles.
I agree with you, but I do think that I mean, she obviously has a journey, but it seems to me that actually there is something for her to learn through her relationship with Colin as it develops, which is, I suspect, in some ways, some places, the point of the piece. And tell me I'm wrong, but she starts by saying it may be a no-hope cause, but that doesn't mean we give up on it. You know, we stay with our no-hope cause, and presumably she genuinely thinks it's a no-hope cause. Colin is a no-hope cause. He's the embodiment of a no-hope cause, and of course he comes good. And indeed, more than just as a person, you know, there's a sense that they may also have some kind of friendship, relationship, whatever it's going to be. But you know, they have a connection. But she has seen what she thought her theory of how life should work play dividends. It's not. She hasn't just been proven that no-hope causes should continue. Her no-hope causes can pay off, and actually that is surely. I mean, I took that to be the point, but
yeah, absolutely, a kind of message of hope that we can change, and that the various. I mean, again, maybe it's capitalism that kind of tries to bully us into staying the same, or into just being too tired to change. But I do believe people can change, and I think it's nice to be reminded. I suppose all these stories, in a way, are like that. We watch these films like, your Groundhog Day or your Liar.
How many times?
Oh,
many times.
Yes, this sense, and we watch them, and we're delighted that by the end there is change. That that we're not set in our ways. I guess
it's a Christmas Carol, is it not?
Absolutely.
You know, we're looking at an archetype.
Yeah. Which I think we all hope.
So you and Dickens?
Me and Dickens, I've always said kind of...
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because at the same time, I think the show does try to hold space for the fact that, like, that could be an oversimplified message, that we have total agency to change, and actually that within a capitalist system, you know, agencies...
Or indeed any system, really.
Yeah,
but yes,
and regardless of... very much dependent on, you know, who you are within that system as well. You don't always have full agency. Like, the system, it has an agency over you, and I think that the Lost Cause lyrics slightly takes on a bit of that there's a way in which you can be optimistic for as much changes as possible, or for as much hope as is possible within that structure too. Yeah.
Now, we've had to lose Tom because there's a show on, believe it or not, that he might be in. But we're going to carry on because what we haven't spoken about very much is the songs. Are the songs, he said, correcting himself. What terrible English. And of course, they are both musicals. And we have the musician. We certainly have a very accomplished pianist or keyboard player.
Pianist, as he's being called in reviews and facts.
Peppy.
Yeah. Peppy, yeah.
As in not in the name, as in he has pep and brio.
Yeah, which has caused much hilarity
or biro
in our household.
But he has a certain distinctive. He does have a certain stage charisma. He's got a very distinctive thing he does with his hand.
Yeah.
Every
time he finishes a bar on the left hand, he
flicks it away. Oh my God,
it goes towards himself. And we think we were talking about this the other day. We think it helps him keep time, but it's very enjoyable to watch.
It's really enjoyable to watch.
It's choreographic almost. It's lovely.
The hair at the same time.
Oh yeah. He has the appropriate.
But that flick is kind of similar to the hand flick.
Well, he looks very much like a croupier in Monaco or something like that. It's that kind of sort of stylistic flourish.
Appropriately camp for our show.
He adds a flamboyance which adds a delicious flavour. But, so you've got a live musician, which is wonderful, and as it should be. But you have fabulous songs. Now, what's your involvement in the songs, Joe?
Lyrics almost only. I very rarely write any music. I occasionally say, should this sound like this? And the composer goes, no.
And
my way's better.
And who are the composers on the two shows?
So Ben James was the person I worked with on Your Bike. He was at Cambridge with me. Devastatingly, he's good on climate science, and he wants to go and actually save the planet with science.
But not songs.
It's a nightmare. I'm here thinking, it's the first time I've been really upset about climate change, actually. Ben said he had to go and solve it instead of writing more musicals with me. So then I've now worked with Georgia Rawlins, who also is, I know from Cambridge. She's now at Mount View, and I mean, she's phenomenal. Her ability to just construct songs that are very
really
intricate but memorable. She has such a talent.
And I think she was involved in Living with Sin as well. I think
she certainly MD'd previous Comforts shows. She is, brilliant.
Astrid, Did that come to Fringe?
Yeah.
No.
I think Rust came to Fringe and she MD'd that.
But she's a known commodity already. She has a reputation. So
she really does, and I think it shines through the songs. It's great to work with someone who there's a certain joy in being lyricist only, because you send off these songs, you scribble up all night, and then you wake up in the morning and in your inbox is this beautiful kind of crafted piece.
You work separately in that sense?
More or less. Well, I got into this habit during COVID, really.
Well, who didn't? Yes.
Of sending the lyrics off and something comes back, and I've stayed.
You're W.S. Gilbert then, because that's the order he used.
I suppose I am, or Hammerstein. Apparently, the reason Oklahoma is so good is because Hammerstein previously worked with a composer who wanted tunes first, and Hammerstein would have to write to the lyrics. And suddenly in Oklahoma, he got this freedom to just scribble, and Richard Rodgers said, "Yeah, I'll
do that.
Set whatever," and it is liberating, and it allows you to say exactly what you want to say. And George is
We'll have a conversation about Oklahoma another day, because other views are available.
Oh, I can talk all day about Oklahoma.
We may have to meet again. But seriously, that's very interesting. But as a collaborative art, but separately then, did that cause any trouble? Because I'm absolutely fascinated by how songs come to be, because people often think song, how do I slip this in the show? But of course a good song is a show that is already an integral part of any narrative, or it should be. So how do you pick your nexus points actually for where they go? How do you write around that, and then how do you write the song with your composer?
Sorry, such a challenge.
It's a broad question, I know, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, normally things pop out that you go, okay, that wants to be a song. We certainly need a song. When he gets the curse, he can tell us how he's feeling about his jingle curse. You think Pinky Swear has to be a song. It's so big, it's such a moment of heightened emotion. But there's been other moments we've really wrestled with whether this is a song. So the lift scene, which is now Lost Cause, which is a really key moment in when Colin and Jasmine's relationship pivots and he starts to change, was originally dialogue, and it actually was quite a long scene and felt like it was dragging a bit, and suddenly we put a song there and it felt like, oh, I see, this suddenly has this pep, and maybe songs allow change in some way, that in that artificial moment of music you're able to have this change.
It's a point of transition, or it can be, or should be.
Yeah, I think also songs have an interesting way of kind of playing with time. So there's a way in which a song can give you an emotional arc or emotional journey, which in real life would take a few weeks or a month. And you know, in a scene you can't do that because it's too literal, whereas in a song, the audience buys it. So the audience will buy that if they have a song in a lift, it's very plausible that he might have started to change and fallen in love within that one song. But if it was a scene, you wouldn't buy it, and that's an interesting thing, I think.
Yeah. Funnily enough, there's an avatar for this. Have you ever seen the film version of Sweet Charity?
Never.
Well, Act 2, as it would be on stage, but basically Charity meets the man, Oscar, who's going to be her sort of beau for the most of Act 2, in a lift, which breaks down.
Oh, really?
And
gosh.
It's a musical, of course, and they do not musicalise it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it does mean there's a slightly clunky moment where he faints because of, he's a kind of neurotic. Well, he's a Neil Simon character, so he's a neurotic New Yorker. Of course he is. He passes out in the lift because he thinks he's never going to escape. It's claustrophobia. But Charity then has to do this slightly awkward thing as she's sort of cradling him. I say she doesn't sing a song. There's a song for the film where she sings That Face. It's not a terribly good song. And she sings about, it's quite a nice face, he could be quite a nice man, actually. So I have paid a misservice, but it feels that the scene doesn't work for me because the song isn't the right song. It's mostly a dialogue scene with a song patched in. But she does clunky things like saying, this could be the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And you think, right, thank you. Donging. So I liked what you did.
That's encouraging. It's tricky to get right. I actually wrote this as a straight play first without songs, knowing where I would put them as an exercise. Not that I ever thought we would stage Jingle Street without the songs. That would seem very strange, but I think it's a useful discipline, and then to try and say what begs a song here, what demands a song.
Is direct, once the material has arrived, the song arrives, how do you, as a director and as a choreographer, presumably this is where you really get together, because dance is mostly in song, let's be brutal.
It is indeed, yes.
I know there's also motion and movement, but it's
mostly the songs,
it's your focal point. So how does your working relationship come across then? Because actually, it's the old question, we all know the old stage act thing, which is that the director is God. But sometimes the choreographer is also
No. That's where I come in, and I'm very much I think actually it's interesting with that with that one, particularly the lift song, there was a bit of a back and forth about should there be some movement in this, and I think I have a real sense of, for me, I'm like this does not work for the narrative for me to just put dance in here, because you can, I could choreograph every song in the show and it just wouldn't help. It would. I feel like sometimes it can hinder.
This is choreographer as dramaturg, in fact, in that sense.
Yeah, I suppose
not on the narrative, but actually on telling the narrative.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah,
I think that's such an important point about Alex as a choreographer. That is why I wanted, that's why Tick Tick Boom was a success, and that's why I wanted to work with you again. Is that Alex, and it is quite rare to find choreographers who are story focused first. Like all of the movement and the dance that Alex will bring into the room is about story and emotion.
Serves.
Absolutely serves the script, serves the story, serves character. And that's why she can work with actors who aren't necessarily brilliant natural dancers, because they go, oh yes, that's why I'm doing that. And suddenly it looks great because they're putting the feeling into it. And I think that's really how we work together, is we literally, bear in mind we've had a week to rehearse each of these shows.
They're totally good on that.
Alex and I will have a meeting before the rehearsal process starts and literally just go through each song and go, vibes, what do you think? Bit like this, bit creepy, bit like Fosse Nightmare. Sounds good.
Yeah, I tend to go through and say, okay, that one's got lots of movement, that will have blocking, that will have no movement, and maybe some actions, and then from there we go. But no, I think it's interesting the way. Sorry, go on.
No, I was about to compliment you on that 360-degree thinking, actually.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. No, I think it's interesting with this one. It's kind of ended up similarly also to On Your Bike. I kind of, whether consciously or not, it feels like the biggest dance moments happen around capitalism somehow, where the Daisy character comes on and is this big dancer, and then she does this big convincing number about this On Your Bike, big convincing number to try and go into corporate job rather than being an artist. And then in Jingle Street, similarly, the kind of softer moments, the moments of genuine connection are more minimal, but then towards the end of the show it kind of pays off in terms of choreographically you get this finale of
everything coming together in
exactly.
As
so
a good finale ought.
Exactly, and so you kind of have there's this maybe not to, I don't know, there's perhaps a language.
It's too complicated to talk about.
Perhaps there's a language of the movement throughout the show, which then has a payoff at the end, which is satisfying to me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something I can talk about that.
It's the journey of the choreography or the movement.
For sure. And I think there's something interesting about languages of movement for me and dance, and where does that, again, in a small show with small cast and where it is so story driven, it's okay, where is this gonna create important.
I think you have a real instinct. The lift scene was one where we have this change, and me and Mimi imagined a scene in a lift. We could have lots of fun choreography where
it was going to be La La Land.
It was so wrong. Kind of squeezing around in the lift, lots of playful tiptoey. And Alex said, well, actually, no, it's a really naturalistic moment. It's a moment where the two of them need to be very earnest with each other, and actually, if they're dancing around, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't serve the story. And I think
also the audience would be alienated by that as well, because we've all been in lifts and we all know there is still a fear of being stuck in a lift, and actually, so that is our natural response to that situation. The empathy the audience feels for what's going on stage, and if they suddenly go hooray, So I think, as I say, it's that 360-degree thought for what serves and what doesn't, which I think is admirable and paid off in spades. Now, I have to say, these two shows I think are cracking shows. I've really, really appreciated them, and I'd like to know, or I would hope, that they may have further lives yet. And even if they don't, your company and your professional selves, individually as well, also will. So tell me, what are the plans, such as they are, if you have, for these shows? And then how can people find out about you, individually and as a group?
So certainly the dream is to tour Jingle Street and maybe send it around, and perhaps a Fringe London theatre could take it, and the dream is to be mincemeat, and you go a bigger theatre and a bigger theatre, and then you end up on
film.
Absolutely. Hard to be certain, but things feel confident. We feel hopeful at the moment that it might go further.
Well, as a piece of work, it has worth, and I think it has and it's so much more sophisticated than first glances, if you're not paying attention, would allow it to be. And this is a marvellous thing. That's a good thing about it. There's layer after layer after layer, both in the writing and in the performance and in the direction and choreography. It all comes together, I think, to make this fabulous whole, with the W.
We're really hopeful it can have a life after this. I can't even think beyond August 27th at the moment, but I'm hopeful. I'm Joe Venable. I'm on joevenable.com, and I'm on TikTok, so you can follow me on there.
You young man.
I know. Well, I feel actually too old for TikTok, to be honest. I'm 28, and I feel like everyone on there is 14. Sort of this gangly granddad going, "Oh, hello, kids! I've got some songs for you."
You should try looking at the world from my exalted position. But
it's all relative, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Follow me, Joe.Venable, if you're intrigued.
Yes. I'm Mimi Pattinson. I'm the director, and you can find me on Instagram, Mimi Pattinson, or get in touch with us through our Chordstruck email or on our website, our Chordstruck website.
And how are you spelling Chordstruck so people know how to do that?
Yeah, so it's chord like a guitar
chord. It is, with an H.
And then struck.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All one word, yeah.
I mean, I don't have any websites
Socials?
or anything, but you can find me via Instagram, alex.adnall, that's ALIX, and then Adnall is ADDINALL. It's a complicated name, very frequently misspelled, but that people can find me there, and again through the Chordstruck email and website, yes.
Well, can I thank you all, and Tom in his absence, and indeed your entire cast and crew, to be honest. You've given me one of the great pleasures I've had so far at this year's Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
I delighted in it, and I'd like to see it again, whether here or in the future, plus your other work. So I do hope you'll stay in touch, and I do hope that Edinburgh will not be deprived of your future work, along with the West End, Broadway, national tours, and everything else you want. Yes, right.
Can't wait.
Yes. I look forward till you've sold out terribly and you're all in the House of Lords.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's lovely to meet you.
I've got a tongue like a slug stuck in traffic. I've got a mouth made of mud. I've seen rats in a barn with more natural charm, and all of my songs turn out duds. And I don't even know who Puccini is, but you could maybe make me a genius. I'm pretty janky, all my songs are frankly clanky. I'm sputtering these utterings like bird nests on your guttering. So write me a riff or a rad rapping remix and make me sing like a phoenix. I've got a thing of using words incorrectly. It drives me so subcutaneous. I'm a bit concerned where I'd be if Jasmine learned her girlfriend's not the brainiest. And I'm no Gershwin, I'm no Hammerstein, but you could make my half-baked grammar shine. I tend to mangle strangled words I can't untangle. I speak a heap of steaming bull, please help me to be meaningful. My foot's in my mouth, which is so unhygienic, so make me sing like a phoenix. I'm scared she'll leave me tearful if she hears another earful. I make my glass appear full, but it's hard to be cheerful, 'cause I'm past anxious and down towards despairing. She's the one girl on earth who thinks I'm worth sharing. Maybe I'm deluded, this was crazy all along. No more being broody, it's time to write a song. But I'm like a yeti, writing haikus and spaghetti. Will make you so loquacious, as persuasive as Horatius, 'cause I'll be writing you such passionate polemics. I don't know what that means. It means we won't need tambourines, 'cause you're gonna sing, 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 sing like a phoenix.
And there we are. And that last song, Sing Like a Phoenix, was an exclusive extra for Musical Talk, because that was a demo recording with Joe Venable, the writer, singing the song himself from a song that was ultimately cut before production. So that has not been seen on the stage. And as I said, the person singing that song, I think in a really rather charming way, was Joe Venable himself, the talented man who was the writer behind the shows. He's also a talented singer, as you can hear. But more than that, a talented lyricist, because that song was brilliant. It's a crying shame in many ways that the song couldn't appear in Jingle Street, although there will always be good reasons for songs to be cut. But it's nice when they sometimes escape into the public domain. And that is a song which I think almost anyone would be delighted to sing. And my thanks to Joe for allowing me to play that song, and indeed all the songs which you've heard in this and last week's episodes of Musical Talk. And whilst I am thanking people, my thanks of course go to Joe, Tom, Mimi and Alex for spending their time with me at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe talking about these two wonderful shows. If you want to find out more about those two shows, or indeed other work by the people at Chordstruck, and that is the name of their theatrical company, go along to their website, www.chordstruck, that's chord.co.uk. And the studio recording of On Your Bike is available online as well. And in my opinion, the score of Jingle Street is equally good, and I do hope that one day there'll be some professional recordings of that. But it's lovely to hear the live recordings in the meantime. Keep your eyes peeled for On Your Bike, Jingle Street or anything by Chordstruck. You won't be disappointed. In fact, the only thing that can disappoint is the droning, monotonous sound of my tiny, whiny voice. But there is a solution to that, and I'm about to offer it up to you. Quite simply, all you'll need to do is endure one single more word from me, and then suddenly all that pain, all that misery will stop. What is the word? What is this elixir that will free you from the pain? Well, you know it as well as I do. So why don't we say it together? And I'm being honest, say it out loud wherever you are now. I don't care if you're in the chemist shop or in the swimming pool. Say it now. Goodbye. This episode of Musical Talk, edited and presented by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk 2024, except for the songs where the copyright remains with the original creators. And my thanks go to them for allowing me to play their wonderful songs in this episode. To find out more about the world of Musical Talk and listen to past episodes, go along to our website www.musicaltalk.co.uk or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and follow us on the usual social media networks like Facebook, Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you want to follow me on the latter, you can. At Musical Talk Thos.
Well, I'm going to give you 5 stars, no doubt.
Oh, that's lovely of you. So kind.
Well, the loveliness has actually all been you, because this has been such a nice conversation. Thank you. You're really nice people.
It's been really, really nice.
This is,
yeah, it's nice to get to talk about.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if we could beg a pull quote of you. Does Musical Talks do...
Now, pull quote is a term I haven't come across in my age. Really? I've been doing this for 1,000 years, but I don't know the term.
I'm quite probably using the wrong term, but something we can slap on a poster that says...
Oh, well, I'm going to write it on here.
Wonderful.
I put it on my card so you can say to anybody.
They
didn't say
fantastic.
that. They did say it, look.
Oh, that's really lovely, thank you.
But I need...
Stars. We haven't been 5 stars yet. We're gonna have to...
You have now. Oh, yeah. Now you've got an afternoon of stapling. I know how this works.
Yes, we do. We got 5 stars.
Yeah.
Of course, we like you. Let's do this again.